that's like the binary thing. It's either you're doing things or you're not doing things. And of course, if you've been doing things for 9 hours, you want to go home and not be doing things. But it's all work.
Yeah.
So whether you're sitting in front of TV, that's still draining you. That's still using energy. No matter, like, just being a human being is work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the act of living is work.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you're doing, it's all work. So it's choosing what that work's going to be. How it's like looking at it as a pie chart and seeing, well, how much slices are you going to give to different things. So yes, work is inevitable. Like that, your actual job, your career is inevitable. You have to give probably even like a third to a half of your day to that. Well, what are you going to do to rest? Of course, you have to sleep and you have to do all these other things as well, and that's going to eat up a whole bunch as well. But there's still, no matter what, going to be some section that either it already exists or you will have to create for yourself, making the time. But if you don't do that, the consequences are so high. Hey guys, welcome back to the Prometheus Podcast, here with Luke. So something that's been on my mind lately, especially since I've started full-time work recently, is expression. So having a means to express yourself, having some thing in your life that is entirely yours, where you have complete control over it, complete, creative freedom over what you're doing. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a creative project. So it doesn't have to be, drawing or writing or anything like that. It could be something physical like arts or martial arts, or, not arts.
Drawing.
Well, like martial arts, gym, something physical like that. There's something that you are doing wholly for yourself and for your own reasons. Because the reality is our day jobs a lot of the time aren't gonna fulfill aren't gonna tick every box that we want to get ticked. Ideally, yes, but the reality is a lot of the time a job is just a job.
Yeah.
It's something you go to, it gives you money. Best case scenario, you enjoy the people you're with, and the work isn't like completely menial, and you get some sort of satisfaction out of it.
And even so, even if you were to have a job that ticks all the boxes, it's super important to have something else.
Because then you're not over leveraged on just one thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I think a lot of my life has just been spent trying to find this outlet.
Yeah.
So I've experimented with a lot of different things. In youth, it was, basketball. As I got a bit older, something like, writing creatively started to become more meaningful to me. And not everything you try will land, because I tried getting into music for a long time. I really wanted to get good at music. I tried so hard. I tried on keyboard, I tried guitar. I really applied myself, and it just wasn't going to happen. But not everything you try will suit you, but it's better to try and then know and then move on to the next thing than to not try at all. So recently I've been actually doing a bit of like artwork and craft and stuff like that, and that's been really fulfilling to me, because again, especially now more so than ever, now that a lot of my time is wrapped up in a 9-to-5 kind of role, having something I can come home to that allows me to use the muscles that perhaps aren't getting used in the workplace is really important to me. So how does this question of expression fit into your life, and what are some of your thoughts around it?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I'll just dive quickly into just a different view on it, right? Me being, when I was working and managing a lot of people, I saw it day in, day out, people who all they did, and we have somewhat talked about it a lot, and it's no secret to everyone, but the whole working class mentality, your whole life is dictated by, you go to work, you do your job, you go home, you cook dinner, you repeat. The people who are stuck into those cycles, I saw when I was managing them, they're the people who, of course, they struggle so hard and they burn out real quick because they don't have a balance. And I think a lot of people, they get caught into the trap thinking it just is what it is, and that's fine. And it's just, I'll just work, go home, repeat, is what it is. Yeah. Work, go home, have a beer or two, repeat. And people do it and they think it's a norm, and it's not saying that you need to go out and do this crazy stuff and do all these crazy things that you hear all these stories about it's not that. It's, well, you need to dedicate time to yourself, and it is so important. Otherwise, that work will be torture.
Yeah.
And you spend more time at work than you do at home. You spend more time at work than you do, you know, with your family than doing other stuff, because that's just the way it is. The world runs on money. We need money. Is what it is. No secret there. But the issue is, if you don't have that outlet, that doesn't recalibrate you. It doesn't kind of balance you in your mind, balance you in your health, in what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And if you don't have that balance, then you do burn out. So from my perspective of seeing people, I've seen countless people who they didn't have outlets, and the negative impact is you will burn out dramatically as well, and it will make your job 100 times harder, and your satisfaction of your life is going to be zero.
Yeah.
So first thing, if you are in that cycle, you need to understand you don't have to, go out and travel the world or go in the state or do all these crazy stuff. It's as simple as, if you were a kid and you enjoyed writing or you enjoyed drawing, then just start drawing stuff and have that outlet, because then that will recalibrate you. And once you're recalibrated, then you'll be a lot more happy and healthier. And that's just like so important. But so many people just think it is what it is. I'll go to work, cook dinner, sleep, repeat. And it's hard when you're in that kind of 9 to 5 cycle, because it takes up a lot of your day, but you need to find time to have an outlet. For me, I'm accident prone. I always like to injure myself, you know that. So I can really see just everything with me deteriorating if I'm not having some type of, strenuous physical activity. I got to kind of, boxing is normally my one, or martial arts, or some form of being able to just kind of, I guess, hit something. Yeah. And that's always been my outlet. And if I'm not keeping active, if I'm not keeping, fit or anything like that, then really my brain starts deteriorating, and I start really getting stressed out, because for me, I'm not expressing myself the way that I want to express myself. So I then got to go to work, or I've got to do this, or I've got to sit in a family, meet up or do something like that. And I'm just really in my head, I'm just in turmoil because I haven't expressed myself the way that I want to express myself. Yeah. And it's nothing dramatic. I'm not chasing 1,000 trillion countries or doing anything dramatic. I just need to be able to go into my gym and then, express myself in a certain way. And then I'm fine, I'm recalibrated. Then I can tackle, I can then work 20 hours. I can then work, a 9 to 5 an entire week or something like that. But I can, but like I said, the productivity isn't there, or you do burn yourself out eventually. So it's not about, it's more about actually have the longevity or being able to maintain it. That's even so important, but you can't do that unless you do have that outlet.
Yeah, so, it's like toothpaste for your soul. Like straight up. It's like, you gotta hit it from different angles. You gotta clean it every now and then. Otherwise, it's just gonna get bacteria.
When you start rotting eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And it might be fun for a week, but that's the thing. People just think it is what it is. They don't express themselves, and sooner or later it burns them out. And it happens fast. Like, you see people all the time. They overstress, and then the immune system kicks out, or then they overwork themselves, and all of a sudden they have these health issues, and they're taking time off work, and then all this other stuff is happening. Yeah. And a huge part to it is like stress. Stress is such an unhealthy part. It kills a lot of people. Stress is so unhealthy, even it's worse than eating bad. It's worse than doing all this other stuff. And we live in such a society today, and it's no secret that yes, we might have to do stuff that we don't want to do, and it stresses us out. But then it is on you as well if you're not actually expressing yourself. You can control that. Yeah. Sure, you might have to pay your bills, but when you get home, why are we just sitting in front of the TV and watching 3 hours of Netflix then going to bed? If you are an artist, why aren't you drawing? And I think that is, at the core of it, that's where a lot of people fall down. And it is on them to actively find something that is an outlet.
Yeah, actually be proactive in searching for it. Because a lot of people will use the excuse that, as a kid, I didn't do any of that stuff, and I'm like 30 now, I'm on 25, I'm like, whatever. I never tried doing any of that stuff, so now it's like, it's not really a part of my identity, so who am I to start picking up a camera and doing some photography? But, I mean, what else are you going to do? Like, again, it's like, well, it's either you do something that's a bit more nourishing for your soul, for your state of mind, and you get home at 6, the sun's up until like 9 now, so you, I don't know, take the dog out, buy yourself a cheap DSLR, take some snaps, and then, I don't know, maybe you like it, maybe you hate it, but then you move on to the next thing. Maybe, you know, this whole time you're supposed to be, I don't know, designing board games for you and your mates to play, like, well, just like do that, like, just like there's 100 different things, and people assume that outlet or creativity has to be, you know, pencil on paper, or, you know, on the keyboard, or like something like that's traditionally seen as creative. But creativity can take so many different forms, even if it's just taking a bit more effort to make dinner that night. So instead of, you know, rushing dinner just so you can get to the TV and crack open a cold one, maybe it's, no, you get your partner involved, you wait for them to get home, you've already done the groceries, you know, and you spend some time together, actually make it something that's a bit nicer, that takes a bit more time, a bit more investment. But then at the end of the day, you have something that, you know, you've both poured a piece of yourself into, and taking a part of yourself outwards and like in front of you to see is a huge opportunity to learn about yourself. And you talk about that so much, like about knowing who you are, that we know so much about brands and consumerism, and we know so little about who we are. And a big part of that is people don't have an expression in their lives. So they're intaking so much, they're watching things, and it's understandable. After a long day of work, you don't want to keep doing things, you just want to sit and relax. But it's about redefining what relaxing means. Just because something is involved and requires you to do things doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be taxing on your energy levels. Sometimes there's forms of work that actually boost your energy. Like, I think thinking of it in terms of work-life balance is silly, because it's just work and work. So even sitting in front of the TV is a form of work. It's just depending on what you want that work to be. Work life is not this negative space that, you know, you have this blank canvas, and then work is like the grey bits around the sides, and then like whatever's this little like haven of like unsoiled life is like, all right, now this is my escape. No, it's like the whole canvas is colored in. There's no like, there is no retreat. And I think that framing of things is detrimental, because it creates this illusion of negative space where there's this time and period which isn't occupied, and thus can be, you know, used to just like consume things, just to like waste it, because like that's like the binary thing. It's either you're doing things or you're not doing things. And of course, if you've been doing things for 9 hours, you want to go home and not be doing things. But it's all work. So whether you're sitting in front of TV, that's still draining you. That's still using energy. No matter, like, just being a human being is work. Like,
exactly.
Like the act of living is work. So regardless of what you're doing, it's all work. So it's choosing what that work's going to be. How it's like looking at it as a pie chart and seeing, well, how much, you know, slices are you going to give to different things. So yes, work is inevitable. Like that, your actual job, your career is inevitable. You have to give, you know, probably even like a third to a half of your day to that. Well, what are you going to do to rest? Of course, you have to sleep, and you have to do all these other things as well, and that's going to eat up a whole bunch as well. But there's still, no matter what, going to be some section that either it already exists or you will have to create for yourself, you know, making the time. But if you don't do that, then the consequences are so high, because yes, you're going to lose touch with who you are. You're going to begin to understand yourself less and less. And the less you understand yourself, the more dependent you'll become on defining yourself based on the relationships in your life, defining yourself on the material things that you own in your life, because suddenly, since you don't know who you are, all these things will suddenly become so much more dependent, because you're like, well, I don't know who I am, but I have this partner, so of course, like, that's who I am. So then you perhaps on an unhealthy level become dependent on these things. And then all that isn't, you know, productive for you to, you know, become like that. So having some form of expression, having some sort of outlet is crucial.
Oh, it's so crucial. And I think what you mentioned as well with kind of, you know, trial and error, and people not knowing who they are, so they can't find something that suits them. Like what I'm thinking straight away is a part of what we coach on with the disc, right? It's of course about human behaviors, and it's all about, well, hang on, you fit kind of somewhere in these four on the quadrant, but each of them has, and this is just a sneak preview, I guess, for some of our performance coaching material, but some of them have they each always have a natural de-stressor or a natural re-energizer, and you take that framework, right, and you apply it then for other people, because so much fits into it, right? The D style, it's all about physical activity. So it could be cleaning, it could be that could be your outlet. You could, when you're really stressed out, you got to just be in your own world. You chuck your earphones on, you start cleaning up your house. That could be something that really re-energizes you or really de-stresses you, and it is a form of an outlet. Maybe take a different approach, right? Not so much cleaning the house, because traditionally it could be seen as a chore. For most people, some people it might not be, but the same thing, but instead of inside, it's outside. So it's maintaining your garden. So you're going out there, you have a veggie patch, you have something like that, and then you're just maintaining your garden like that. How much of a meditative approach is that, instead of just sitting in front of the TV? You're going outside, you're planting things, you're gardening, you're making it all look pretty, you're dealing with the aesthetic of your house, as well as just being in the outdoors, soaking up the sun. Easily an outlet. That you have, you go to the I style, it's kind of, socializing and all that, or very kind of aesthetic and experience and all of that. So camping with mates, something like that. S style, it's all about that relaxation. So whether it's, just hanging out, maybe it's just a hot bath, something like that. Of course, there's other ways there's like what you said, the stereotypical, I want to learn the guitar and that will be my outlet. But there's all these little things in between that can be re-energizers and de-stressors, and also seen as an outlet when you are feeling stressed. And jump to the C style, more of an isolated kind of alone time. So maybe it's just reading a book, something like that. Something that is triggering all those, whatever is the right chemicals in your brain to de-stress, to make you feel better. And then also, like you're saying, it's so cool to engage that creativity, because that's when you're finding out more about yourself. So it's less about the world. I loved what you just said about how if you are taking in so much, you have to give out. There has to be some output. And you could do all these crazy things, but a real great way to actually have an output, to actually give out more than you take in, is to just express yourself in whatever way you feel natural. And that's easy. Like that, no one has to spend money to do that, or not necessarily. And you might not need to buy a guitar, but there's other ways to express that. There's other ways to get what is inside of you out, instead of just consuming and consuming and consuming.
Thanks for tuning in to the Prometheus Podcast, where we aim to bring the fire back to the people.